Welcome to Key into Quality, where we explore the foundations of a thriving quality culture in healthcare. I'm Tim Morgenthaler, a professor of medicine and a vice chair of quality. Today, we're diving into the heart of quality improvement with leaders from Mayo Clinic Quality Academy. Established in 2006, the Academy empowers over 60,000 healthcare professionals across Mayo Clinic campuses to elevate quality, safety, efficiency, cost effectiveness, and the human experience. Originally nestled in the Division of Quality Management Services, the Academy found its home within the Mayo Clinic College of Medicine in 2009, which is a strategic move amplifying its commitment to quality education and certification. At the core of their mission lies a relentless pursuit of equipping every coworker with the tools to identify opportunities for enhancement and to champion impactful improvements in service to our patients. So join us today as we delve into the philosophy, practices, and profound impact of the Mayo Clinic Quality Academy, which is shaping our culture and the future of healthcare. Co-hosting with me today is my colleague, Sherry Nemec. Sherry?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Nemec, Consultation and Relationship Manager for Quality at Mayo Clinic. I really like your opening comments, Dr. Morgenthaler, because we've seen this work of the Quality Academy and engaging our staff firsthand. We've experienced it ourselves as well. And, it really does allow not only people to become competent in quality skills, but confident as well in applying that to their everyday work.
That's really true. And that I really mean it when I say this has shaped the culture at Mayo Clinic, because there's nothing like a room full of people who have their eyes open for ways to improve, but also have their hearts ready to say, oh, okay, we can do that. Let's get going. So I'm really glad to introduce our guest today, Dr. Reichard, who's the chair of the Quality Academy Education Committee, and Matt Cox, who is a quality improvement advisor. Dr. Reichard, can you just tell us a little bit about how you got started in working with the Quality Academy at Mayo Clinic and introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, so my name is Ross Reichard. I'm a pathologist by training, by background, but I've long been interested in the various aspects of quality, which can encompass many different things, as anyone listening to this knows. And I think fundamentally, I'm interested in process improvement and come to it from the operational standpoint. I've really find that it feels good to make things better, right? It makes it better for the people that you work with. It makes it better for the patients. And the people who are engaged in quality, I just seem to resonate with and like, to be quite honest. And so I've had a few different roles in our division of anatomic pathology and quality, and in our department in quality. And then couple of years ago now, moved into this role as the medical director of the Quality Academy, which, as you mentioned, is housed in education. And it's just a really, really fun place to be, involved in educating people and working with people who are going out of their way to reach out to you to learn. I mean, we all like to learn, right? And so when you're involved in educating people and people are enjoying that process, it's just a fun place to be.
It's kind of a double or triple win to be doing the stuff you love, to be teaching people who love doing it, and to have the people then go out and do it. It's a lot of fun. I agree. Hey, maybe Matt Cox, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in this work?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I'm an industrial engineer by background. So I've been kind of doing this stuff basically my whole career. I got my kind of formal introduction into quality improvement, process improvement back in the early 2000s. I was working for a big transportation company. That's where I kind of got my training and my first certifications. And so I worked there for a long time. And then 2010, I took a role in healthcare doing the same kind of work. Fast forward to 2021, I was looking around and happened to come across this job posting for this position in the Quality Academy. And, as I looked at it, it took all the things that I loved about all my previous roles and made it the whole job. And so I applied, and here I am doing what I love to do.
Great. It was meant to be. Well,
It
you're
was meant
both
to be.
super passionate, obviously, about this work. So maybe we can just start to dig in a little bit and share with our listeners a little bit about the Quality Academy. What's your mission, structure, etc.?
What we're really trying to do is educate and inspire our staff to be problem solvers. And as a problem solvers, they can continuously improve the healthcare delivery, make their work environment better. And we want to do this in alignment with the Mayo Clinic values and the mission of Mayo Clinic. So we're really trying to educate in this particular area while being aligned with what we're trying to do in Mayo Clinic as a whole. And the Quality Academy in itself is in education. It's across our enterprise. And so we have a relatively small group of people that are in our core group, but we are also dependent on many, many volunteer faculty members that also contribute into the education. We think of ourselves as teaching individuals to have those basic skills to speak the language of quality improvement. And then we hopefully will encourage those individuals to take those skills and apply them to projects and to make things better. And then ultimately, they will hopefully not just make improvements, but will then share that information. And so they'll either go on to publish it, present it, and share it with others in many different ways. And I think along that journey are where individuals like Matt come in and act as educators, as coaches, and really help people dig into that content and apply it.
Matt, anything you want to add in on that?
No, I think Dr. Reichert really covered it pretty well. I mean, like you said, we're an enterprise team, small team, but we kind of touch all facets. We start off with that education piece. The other big thing that we do from the Quality Academy perspective is we administer the Mayo Quality Fellows Program. That's Mayo's formal certification on quality and process improvement, and it's got the bronze, silver, and gold levels that are certifications people can earn, as well as that diamond award, which is more of that chief practitioner of quality improvement, if you will, the people that are the pinnacle of their careers when it comes to this stuff and recognizing them. So, and then we've got our Office of Quality Improvement publication as well. So we can kind of cover all the way from the education piece to a little bit of that coaching through the active projects, and then on to how do you share it through publication or through quality conferences. We administer those internally as well.
I think just to add a little bit of understanding for some of our listeners, Mayo Clinic, of course, is an academic, not-for-profit healthcare institution. And like many similar institutions, we group our mindset around activities that have to do with, of course, patient care. That's our biggest concern, but also then the education. We think of our insignia having 3 shields. So education is a second shield, and then the third shield is research. So Quality Academy started off in the practice part of things with the eye towards, okay, let's improve how we're caring for patients. But it was soon realized that to really teach that, we should be using all of our educational tools and educational expertise to teach it just like we teach skills and knowledge for caring for patients and for doing research. So that's really neat, I think, that it's moved out of there. I'm just kind of curious, in your day-to-day work with Quality Academy, how does it feel different being on the education side of the house from being in the day-to-day practice, or does it feel different?
Oh yes, it definitely it definitely feels quite different. On the practice side, I mean, there's obviously a lot of time spent on accreditation, inspection, safety events with patients and staff and other sorts of really like nitty-gritty that we kind of think about traditional kind of quality. Being on the education side is different because we're trying to serve our customers, the people that we want to educate, and are thinking about how do we approach those. How do we educate now in this virtual slash hybrid post-pandemic world? How do we teach adult learners? We're all adult learners, and adult learners learn differently. Everyone's short on time, and so how do we make content that fits with what people want to do? It's a different kind of relationship, but it's quite fun. And we do a lot of different things. We have like a grand rounds where we present our content. We have a community network where people get together and discuss things. We have a journal club, and we have annual conferences at all the different sites focus on quality. So we have a lot of venues for people to share the information that they've learned and learn from others. But the thing is, people have just self-selected to be here. And so they really want to be there. So you go to a quality conference and it's just awesome, right? Because the people want to be there. They're excited about it. It's nothing but, I think, a positive experience. And people are showing in their successes, their success stories. And so it's not as if something happened that they have to manage or they're expecting some outside inspector to show up. It's at a different part of that journey. And it's a fun place to be.
So you've mentioned how there does have to be a pivot to be an educator of adult learners of all different levels. So I'm just kind of thinking in my mind about some people who are coming to us and they've not really been exposed to this kind of curriculum, this way of thinking. In my experience, a lot of times someone might see something that could be improved, but they're not quite sure how to get started or how to make the change or how to form the group or how to make progress. Can you give us examples of how Quality Academy gets involved in helping start some of that, educate the group, maybe some successes that have come out of the Quality Academy collaboration?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is it's important for people to recognize there is no one right or wrong way to do this, right? There's no perfect way to go about improving quality. There's ways that are more effective and more efficient and will get you to where you're trying to be, maybe a little bit quicker, but there isn't one right or wrong way. So you shouldn't be afraid to just kind of jump in and start. But I think one of the biggest barriers, I hear teams that are struggling with, geez, how do we get started with this stuff? I think one of the biggest things that I hear is people under the impression that they're not allowed to do this kind of work, right? They're not allowed to take on quality improvement and spend time doing that, or maybe their specific idea that they've come up with and no one's going to support that. Situations like that, the best way to head that off is to just go talk to your supervisor first. That's a great place to start, right? Make sure that share your ideas, make sure you're on the same page in terms of what the priorities are for the department or division or whatever. And then you've got resources that can help you do this, because it does take some effort and some energy to do quality improvement. You've got to actually go into it intending to do that. I think one of the other things that stands in people's way is just that basic, we don't know, right? We've never done quality improvement before. So maybe they're not familiar with some of the formal kind of approaches and techniques, or maybe they built it up in their head to be such this big, complicated thing that they've almost paralyzed themselves into doing nothing. I see that a lot too, and hear that from a lot of groups. And once we talk to them, this is so much easier than I thought it was going to be. I'm like, well, yeah, this is easy stuff and it's fun stuff. So you should just give yourself some time. But I mean, basic education is a great place to start too. And that's one of the things that we really thrive on. The Silver Quality Essentials course that we have is designed to give people that basic terminology, some simple tools you can use, and to try to, Sherry's point early on, to try to make people comfortable and competent doing this work. And that's a huge part of it. One more thing I was thinking of, to get started is just find a mentor, find a coach, find someone who's gone down this path before that you can bounce ideas off of or ask questions of. That was actually within Mayo, we have some areas that have those kinds of resources really built right into their areas, and others where they don't really have anybody they can go to. So that was the impetus behind Quality Academy starting our open office hours last year. Give people a venue that, it's only a couple times a month right now, but give people a venue they can call in and just ask those questions. How do I start a project? Here's an idea that I have. Is this an approach that's going to work for this kind of an improvement? And we love talking about this stuff. And so office hours is one of my favorite things to do. My colleagues and I get on there and we get all kinds of people that come in and ask us questions. We just get to talk about one of our favorite topics for 2 hours.
These are virtual office hours, right?
They're virtual. Yep. So they're
so
open
they can
to anybody.
Go any place across the Mayo enterprise, so to speak. So I wanted to follow up on something there, Matt. You kind of started this off as, there's a person who has an idea, and one of the first things they can do is go to their supervisor. And I was thinking, yeah, don't you hope their supervisor knows more than they do? And that kind of got me thinking about the Mayo Fellows program. And I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about the bronze and the silver and the gold, and kind of what's the vision for, why would somebody do those things, and how does that fit into the overall plan of enabling our institution to achieve its goals?
So again, 3 levels of certification within Mayo. So bronze is really intended for literally everyone in the organization. And right now we have about half of the folks that work for Mayo have gone through the bronze level of training, at least bronze. Bronze is all about basic terminology, kind of setting a tone for, what is quality improvement? Why does it matter? What is your role in it? And we all have a role in quality improvement, right? We all have a role in taking care, making things better, whatever those things are, whatever it is we're trying to improve. So bronze is all about that. It's pretty basic. It's an online module, 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. But it's a great way, if you've never heard of some of this stuff, that's a great way to get started and just level set everyone on what quality improvement is. And then silver is our second level. And silver is really where you get into being a practitioner, right? Because it's great to know the terms, it's great to know the tools, but if you don't actually do something with it, you don't ever actually improve anything. So silver is all about how do you give people a relatively low entry point into quality improvement. It's intended to teach people how to do this. So we have criteria that's set up that we assess projects against, but it's all about learning to do this, and with less emphasis on the outcome at the silver level, right? So we don't technically require teams to actually implement their changes or to achieve success in their changes for that matter, but to go through the process of using this DMAIC approach that we use here with our quality improvement to learn how to apply some of these skills and tools. And then gold is our highest level of certification, and it really just takes it kind of that next level. So it's the same approach, it's the same general set of tools and techniques, but you're using a little bit more sophistication in their application. Potentially it's a bigger scope problem that you're trying to tackle. Maybe there's a little bit more strategic need for that improvement, but it's the same process no matter what. And you're just building that comfort and that competency to do this kind of work. Because it takes a couple iterations. In my experience, most teams have to go through this at least 2-3 times before they're really starting to feel comfortable thinking different, because it is a different way of thinking than what a lot of us are naturally exposed to.
Before I go on to my next question, which I'm going to point to you, Dr. Reichard, for, but I'm just going to do a little plug that Quality Academy does have these courses, bronze and silver, available externally too. So if people are interested, they can find us on our executive education website. So sorry, just had to throw that in there. So, Dr. Reichard, you've been at this a while. Quality Academy has had some great successes across Mayo and engaging people in quality improvement. What are some lessons you've learned along the way in your journey?
So I think a number of things, I think one of these things is that it's a continuous process. I mean, when you talk to quality, people talk about what's your journey, but it really is a continuous process. And I think more and more as staffing has turned over and you hire new people and you have residents and trainees come in and go, it's even more important to think of it as a journey and a process and engaging people. I think another key component, and this is what we've tried to do in the Quality Academy, is meet people where they are with their quality journey, if you will. If you're just starting, we got the bronze. If you want like a deep dive into how to apply lean, we got a lean structure that you can apply, and we can walk you and your team through that from beginning to end. If you want to do a big collaboration across multiple sites, we can walk you through the different components of that. And so I think it's really meeting people where they are and showing them how to begin to use that. And I think, to kind of go back to the fellows program, is that you can't outsource your quality, right? It has to be within, right? And what I've seen more and more, and I'm no disrespect to outside consultants, because we all have even been those at times, but that's a short-term solution, right? To bring someone in from the outside and sort of plug in some education, maybe bring some tools or some new IT something. But really, if you want something that's sustainable and carries momentum and continuously improves, it needs to be internal. And I think that's why having your own internal program and then your own educators within is a way to do that. And this kind of comes back to the practice side of things where, how do you implement something and sustain that change so that patient harm doesn't occur again? And obviously you can put in controls and other sorts of things. But if you're continuously improving in that area, then that in and of itself diminishes the risk. And so I think for me, that's one of the best way to sustain positive change is just keep making iterations of improvement in that particular area or just in general.
Well, what do you think with all this together? What would you say are sort of your short-term visions or goals and even long-term visions or goals for Quality Academy? I mean, like, what should we be seeing different a year from now or 2 years from now? I don't know if that defines short in this dynamic world. And what do you see out there on the horizon?
Short term is to continue to develop our education so it fits with the world that we're in. We pivoted very quickly from being in person to being online, and it's really broadened the scope of people that we can interact with. But I also think delivering content in different ways is going to be something that we're going to see. We have these quick bits, which are like 3 to 5 minutes, just in time learning opportunities. And so thinking about more and more of what can fit into the world that we operate in, whether you have electronic visual management boards and you want a 2-minute demo on some particular topic when they're doing a huddle. I think the other thing that gets lost when you talk about process improvement is change management. And I
Mm.
think change management has to be there at the forefront. And I think integrating change management just from the very, very get-go. And I think once you look at the world through the eyes of change management, sometimes you see these, from my perspective, you see mistakes occurring right out of the gate, and it's painful
Well, Ross,
sometimes to see it.
you've got your finger
Mhm.
right on it, because I was just thinking, when I first was taught about change management, it was something that you could plan, like, okay, when we change, we're going to do it this way. And even then, if you kind of receive the teachings, you learn that, well, the reason most projects fail is because of poor execution with bad change management. But now you have to change your change management, because whatever you thought you were going to do, it's already changed. You got to change your change management. So you guys need to get on the stick here and figure out how to change management, teach it.
I totally agree. I mean, it has to be hand in glove with continuous improvement.
Yeah.
If you don't do it and you're doing it in a different world, like how do you manage this in an AI setting? How do you manage it in automation? How do you manage it with like remote patient care? How do you do this when the hospital extends into people's houses? I mean, it's a very different way of thinking and applying these skills.
Yep. How about long term? Where do you think Quality Academy is going to be functioning, or how is it going to be functioning? Let's say 5 years. I think that's pretty long term vision these days. 5 years from now.
We're going to rule the world. And no, I think what I see us being is in a place where people understand what we bring to the table. So we'll really be like at the elbow with your education. So when you have your engineers and they're thinking about doing something, or they're going to be like, oh, this is where we go for educational content. Oh, we're onboarding a whole bunch of new staff. Oh, this is where they need to be. And so I just continuously at people's elbow, meeting them where they are and guiding them along this way. And then that's going to hopefully support and work with what we're trying to accomplish here at Mayo. So we'll just be one more piece of that puzzle coming together.
One of the things that Dr. Morgenthaler and I usually like to ask our guests is, Mayo Clinic, we're very lucky. We're large. We have, a lot of resources for this kind of work. But what would you say to an organization that has a high desire to set up something like this, but maybe they just don't have the resources to set up a whole academy? What would you say would be some first steps, or where could they go to continue to move forward?
This, I think, is very much dependent on the leaders' engagement and support of it. And if the leaders are engaged in supporting quality improvement in this and education, then things can begin to move. And I think that's lessons that have been learned. You have to invest in it, and it seems expensive to do, but it's really too expensive to not
Mm.
do it. You want your
Mhm.
staff to be engaged. You want them to stay there. You want them to enjoy their job. If you empower your frontline folks to start doing things, you have just opened the door to Pandora's box of success. And I think beginning with that educational piece, as we've talked about, but opening up that door for that frontline staff. And once you turn the frontline staff free to start looking for those resources, you'll find it. I think the other thing that I've found quite liberating is if you think about things, and you can apply this to many things in life, as an experiment, right? Like it's not a permanent change, right? If you think about it, and like, we are using scientific methods. We're all coming from a science background, but we, for some reason, don't apply it to how we actually work, is what I've seen in healthcare, which is kind of ironic. But it doesn't have to be like we're going to make this change in this setting and it's permanent. If you just say, hey, it's an experiment. We'll see if it works. If it works, great. If not, hey, we tried to make that improvement. So I think if you approach everything with that experimental mindset, then it's very liberating, right? You can say, I want to change roles or jobs. Like I didn't permanently necessarily move to Rochester, Minnesota, right? I mean, I tried out a new job, over a dozen years ago, and I really like it. So far the experiment's been pretty good. But to me, if you think of it as an experiment, to me, I find that very freeing.
I think you're really right about that. I think that is a mindset that serves us well in a lot of ways. You mentioned how when you go to a quality conference, you're kind of surrounded by people who have a like passion, and I'll bet that's part of it. I bet people have come to realize approaching life from a little bit more of an experimental point of view, trying things.
Yeah. And being okay to fail. I mean, I think that's
Absolutely.
such a huge key of that you're going to learn from things that didn't work. And so that's just as valuable.
Well, wow. We have really enjoyed spending this time with the two of you. I have to wrap it up because our podcast has only so long it can go, but I just want to thank you both for sharing your passion, your vision, the valuable information that you shared with us about Quality Academy. I mean, really your insights and your dedication have really inspired and advanced, I think, all of our collective goals. The Quality Academy was a big part of my professional career here at Mayo Clinic, was what I got exposed to through Quality Academy, and has really made my job a lot more fun. And I hope has actually contributed my small part to improving Mayo Clinic. I know it has a lot of people. So thank you again. We really appreciate your contributions. We look forward to continuing this journey of excellence together. We've come to the close of our podcast, and I'm really glad all of our guests could join us today. I hope the information provided is insightful and valuable. Again, Mayo Clinic's Key into Quality podcast aims to highlight some first steps in addressing important quality challenges in your organization. Our goal is to improve quality for patients in the population that we all serve. If you enjoyed this podcast, we'd be grateful if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts, a rating on Spotify, or feedback wherever it is that you listen. You can also follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Let others know in your organization about the podcast so the information can be spread. Until next time, goodbye.